Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how to adjust your bow sight in a relatively quick manner. So before you do anything, and again, I'm shooting this or using my Matthews Verdicts and a Trophy Ridge React sight. This is a 5-pin vertical sight. But before you even get started, I'd recommend taking your bow to a shop and ensuring that your arrow is coming off the string perfectly. The arrow should be exactly parallel to the riser, so you can usually measure that from the distance of the back of the riser to the arrow right here, this distance, and then the front of the riser. You can see it over the whisker biscuit. Front of the riser to your arrow, so that should be perfectly parallel to the riser. Doing that should ensure that it comes off the string perfectly, and then you can adjust your sight left or right based on that. You can see it's right on line right here. So you're going to want to do that first to make sure the string's not coming off the rest in an inaccurate fashion. And then you're going to want to move to sighting in this top pin. Most people recommend sighting in that top pin, this green one right here, at around 20 yards. And for this particular sight, this top pin on the React is going to be static, meaning you can't adjust that top pin within the sight, which is under here. What you have to do is you have to adjust the housing on this axis right here, this vertical axis. And this particular sight has 3 access points. So this one helps you level your sight, which I'd recommend doing first as well. This one adjusts it left to right, and this one adjusts it vertically. So you're going to want to, again, make sure this rest is good to go. Check, make sure your sight is level, and then try your best to eye it to make sure, again, it's right in line with that string. Then you're going to want to use this up and down axis to move this top pin to where you want to go. And again, the thing to keep in mind is when you're sighting this 20-yard pin, if you shoot high, you want to move your pin up so you bring your bow down. If you're shooting low, you want to move your pin low so you bring your bow up. If you're shooting to the left, you want to move your pin to the left so you bring your bow back to the right. If you're shooting to the right, you want to move your bow to the right and bring it back to the left. And so once you get that 20-yard pin sighted in, you can move down your pins at whatever distance you want. Again, the most important thing to make sure right here is that you have room to go down. And this React sight obviously does it for you, but you want to make sure you move this housing as high as it'll go to give you room to go down, because as you move further back, you'll go lower in your pin setup because you'll be raising your bow up. So you can see mine's pretty high already based on the location of the riser. Now with this React sight, and I'll do a separate showcase of my dad's bow, which is a little bit more traditional sight. But what you're going to do is you're going to have this location under the sight. It's just one screw that adjusts all these pins downwards. Now, some people like using this second pin to sight in their 30-yard distance, and then from there the rest will, again, react accordingly. Or you can go down to your furthest distance, which I think would be 60 yards, so 30, 40, 50, 60, and then you can sight in your 60-yard pin. And by adjusting just that second option, whether it be your 30-yard pin or your 60-yard pin, the rest of the pins will, again, react accordingly. So I would recommend, again, you have to set up that 20-yard pin by moving the housing, and then I would slowly try to get out to 60 yards at that bottom pin, and then that 50, 40, and 30 actually should be where it needs to be. If you do it the opposite manner, I found that the 30-yard pin, if you have that set, the 60-yard gets just a little bit wonky because that'll actually move the furthest amount of distance when you use this React technology. But again, that's kind of the overview. Here's a different view of the site. You have the level right there. You can see that's good to go. Here's again the different access points. But here, and I'll do a quick summary of the other site as well. Okay, so this is my dad's bow. It's an older Matthews and a more traditional 3-pin horizontal pin sight. You can see from the side, you can only adjust this particular sight horizontally and vertically. It doesn't have that level feature. And this is not a React sight, so you can adjust these pins independently. Again, he's got that sight pretty high up, just in place for his 20-yard pin, and then he uses just a 40-yard or a 30-yard, and then he has one out of the way. So not a lot of variety with this sight, but pretty simple setup.